Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all are doing well. On the behalf of KemPsych and IFMSA-Pakistan, it is my immense pleasure to welcome all of you to our today's webinar, Strong or Silent, Breaking the Invisible Barriers in Men's Mental Health. Before starting, I would like each one of you to react with the emoji to tell how you are feeling today. There is an option where you can react with an emoji. So I want all of you to react with any emoji to tell how you are feeling today. Okay, that's really great to see so many responses. So, before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce the IFMSA Pakistan and KemPsych, which are the chief organizers for today's event. So, IFMSA is the International Federation of Medical Students Association, which is representing more than 1.5 million medical students across 120 countries, making it one of the world's largest student-led organizations. Here in Pakistan, IFMSA Pakistan has an active presence in more than 87 medical colleges and representing over 10,000 medical students through its six standing committees on medical education, public health, research exchange, professional exchange, etc. Alongside these standing committees, IFMSA Pakistan also runs several national programs, and mental health is one of its flagship national program. And through this program, we aim to normalize the conversations around mental health and promote compassionate and evidence-based support. Our second organizing partner is KemPsych, which is a student-led psychiatry interest group, which is working under the supervision of respected Professor Dr. Ali Madeeh Hashmi and the Faculty of Psychiatry Department of Mayo Hospital. KemPsych is a student-led platform which is committed to promoting mental health literacy, reducing stigma, encouraging early help seeking, and creating safe spaces for meaningful conversations around psychological well-being. So now let's move towards our today's session. So today's webinar addresses a paradox many of us have observed. Most people agree that mental health matters. Most people agree that men can struggle emotionally. Most people agree that seeking professional help is important, yet when themselves experience emotional distress, many of them continue to suffer in silence. Why? Because while the awareness has increased, the conditioning around the vulnerability often remains unchanged. Today's discussion is therefore not merely about mental illness, it's about the understanding of invisible expectations which we have set around the masculinity, emotional expression, and help seeking. Our hope is that today's session becomes more than just information. We hope it becomes an experience that encourages reflection, empathy, and healthier conversations within our own families, within our personal friendships, and our professional lives. Okay. So now, before hearing from our distinguished speakers, we are let's begin with a short interactive activity. I will be displaying a series of statements which are related to men's mental health. Your task is very simple. You have to type either myth or fact in the Zoom chat. Okay, there is a option of Zoom chat in which you can type. In which you can type myth or fact. So I will be displaying a series of statements which will either be a myth or fact, and you have to guess that it is either a myth or a fact. So let's start. Okay. The first statement is that many South Asian men are raised to hide emotional pain rather than talk about it. So can you guess, is it a myth or a fact? Okay, so I can see the many responses coming in. So let's see what's the actual answer. So the answer is fact. Cultural expectations in South Asian societies often encourage emotional expression from a very young age in boys. And now we are moving towards our second statement. So the second statement is that depression in men usually looks exactly the same as it does in the women. So now you have to guess whether it is a myth or a fact. Okay. So most of you are saying that it is a myth. So let's see what it is. Okay. So the correct answer is myth. Uh, Men often experience depression differently, and sometimes it presents with irritability, anger, risk-taking behaviors, emotional numbness, and or substance use rather than the typical symptoms. So the third statement is that talking openly about emotions increases psychological resilience. So now I want all of you to tell me whether it is a myth or a fact. Okay, it's a fact. So let's see what it is. Okay. Yes, you all are right. It is a fact because healthy emotional expression strengthens coping skills, relationships, and long-term resilience, and it also encourages the help-seeking behavior. Okay, so the next statement is suicide deaths are generally higher among men in many countries. So whether it is a myth or a fact, you have to tell me in the comment section. Okay, so most of you are saying that it is a fact. Yes, it is a fact because although the women report higher rates of some mental health conditions and suicide attempts, but men account for a significantly higher proportion of suicide deaths globally. And our last statement is many men delay seeking professional help even when they recognize they are struggling. So, is it a myth or is it a fact? Okay, so you all are saying that it is a fact. Okay, so let's see what it is. So, yes, it is a fact because research consistently shows that stigma, fear of vulnerability, and societal expectations often delay help seeking behavior in many men as compared to women. So, thank you everyone for participating. I hope this activity highlighted that many assumptions we told about men's mental health deserve closer examination. And with that, now it is time to learn from our distinguished experts. Uh, Before
Hello,
moving forward,
everyone. I'm
okay, I would like to now hand over the mic to my co-moderator for today's session, Minahil Shiraz. Minahil, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm really pleased to announce our first speaker, Dr. Khaula Tariq, who is the senior registrar at our Department of Psychiatry. With her experience and expertise, she is uniquely positioned to help us better understand the complexities of men's mental health and the social conditioning that they've faced their entire lives. And I'm very delighted to have her and hear her perspective as she sheds light on unique barriers that men face in recognizing, expressing, and seeking mental health. So I, for one, am really excited to hear from her. And Dr. Kola, you have our virtual stage now.
Minahil, Dr. Khola will be joining us in just few minutes.
Okay, she'll be joining us in a few minutes. So before that, I wanted to talk about why I feel like having this webinar was really important and why it's important to highlight a specific mental health issue as opposed to just talking about mental health. So yeah, like when we talk, like uh, some students might have the question, okay, why are we talking about men's mental health specifically? Why not mental health in general? That's because mental health itself is an umbrella term, right? Like it encompasses a lot of different issues, and it's really important to have an umbrella term to kind of give a common language to different variety of issues that have the same background of some sorts, right? They have something in common, but in doing so, a lot of the specific problems that we face kind of get swept under the rug, and they don't get highlighted as often, such as men's mental health, because right now in our society, we've progressed a lot. We talk a lot about mental health. Everyone knows that mental health is important, but there are still some barriers we face, and some ways that we're still a lot behind, and that's because we don't highlight these specific issues, right? And that's why it's important to have platforms like this and give people platforms like this in order to kind of end the social conditioning that they've faced, and to end the stigma that they've faced their entire lives. So that's why I think it's really important, and I'm really happy that we're doing this and conducting this. Is Dr. Kola here yet?
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Okay, this is
Dr.
Dr.
Kola, you have
Tariq.
our stage now.
All right, so everybody can see me and hear me.
Yes, ma'am. We can see you and hear you too.
All right, great. So a little introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Khaula Tariq, and I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I work and teach at King Edward Medical University. And so I was asked to talk about men's mental health. So I would start with a question basically. Who is the audience over here? Hello, anyone? Gee, can you guys hear me? Medical students. All of you are medical students? I gathered that. Okay. So there was a resistance from my end. I will start with that why do I have to talk about men's mental health, especially in June? And I posed this question to men in my family yesterday on the dinner table. I've got two boys and my husband, and all of them were of the opinion um, that there is no Women Mental Health Month. So why is there a discrimination that men mental health has to be spoken about in June and not all year round? So any idea? Anyone can speak up. I like it to be more interactive rather than me just talking about it. Anyone can turn on the mic and answer the question. What are your thoughts?
Hello.
G.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Emin.
Ma'am, I guess this is because men are more silent and they are not more expressive than women's.
Okay, so like mental health, it is something, what the case that they were making was that mental health is a concern and there should be no gender discrimination in it. Men mental health, women mental health. Mental health in itself is very important. It needs to be spoken about. It needs advocacy throughout the year, not specifically to a specific month dedicated to it. So I tend to agree with that actually, that it is something that needs to be advocated throughout. And how many men do we have today on this forum? कितने लड़के हैं? Everyone? Okay, all right. So we have a mix. So what I have gathered is that there is a lot of self stigma. There is internalization of masculine norms, let's put it that way, because of the messages that come from the society pertaining to masculinity and strength, where mental health is seen as a sign of weakness, not as a sign of strength. Um, so the societal expectation basically is that if you are strong, if you are resilient as a man, then you cannot have mental health concerns. Probably that is the reason why, like you mentioned earlier, men are reluctant to talk about mental health concerns, to talk about their emotional needs, because there is a fear that they would be judged. They would be it would be seen as a sign of weakness. It would be seen as a sign of inadequacy. So they tend to be less vocal about their emotional state. But the problem over here is that we are actually defining strength as silence. Jabke we need to change the narrative over here. Strength is not being silent. Strength, real strength, is the ability to recognize distress. It is the ability to speak about it. It is the ability to seek support before suffering turns into crisis. Now, why it is very important to talk about is it is because men usually end up seeking help when they're approaching or reaching crisis. They don't come to me saying that I am depressed. They would come with, I can't sleep, I have fatigue, I'm short. So I feel tired all the time. I have body pains. I am drinking more than usual. I'm smoking more than usual. I just want to be left alone. So these are the symptoms that usually clinically they would present as, not classically sadness, which they would hide. So the important clinical signs that we need to recognize over here is irritability, anger, aggression, sometimes emotional isolation, numbness, and emotional isolation and attaching their distress as a sign of failure. Now, this is an internal stigma which is coming from the men. The men need to be more honest about how they're feeling. If they're anxious, they're anxious. They just need to say they're anxious. But they would say, I have failed, I'm not adequate, I'm not enough. And they're not, naming it properly. They're not, they're attaching it constantly to a condition that they need to meet as per societal norms. So that really needs to change. It's important that they recognize this and they recognize the barriers that they have to break. Now, the barriers are there. वैसे ही around mental health, we know that mental health is stigmatized, not just in Pakistan, all over the world. It is difficult to talk about mental health concerns. People usually see it as a sign of weakness. In a lot of societies, अब ज़्यादा openly with good advocacy, जो हम constantly कोशिश करते रहते हैं कि awareness building activity करें, बात करें, लोगों को समझाएं. So it is changing, but of course it has got a long way to go. So many boys, they grow up hearing messages like
बटन खोल ऊपर वाला बंद है
be strong, handle it yourself, do not complain. So these are the labels that they need to comply with. And these are the labels that they are coming from their friends, they're coming from their peers, other men in the society. So it is something that they need to overcome. So they tell themselves that, no, I need to be strong enough, I need to man up, I need to keep working, earning, I need to keep on driving, managing, despite the emotional distress that they are feeling inside. And the reason being is that the culture and the norm is that it is something that is not acceptable so far. So the men usually what they do is they would avoid help. They are suffering, but they're suffering inside. They are suffering in silence, and they are unable to express themselves. And then there's the cost attached to this silence. This cost is untreated emotional distress. It presents with behavioral problems at home, anger issues, marital conflicts, negative coping mechanisms, workplace burnout. Uh, so all these, okay, so I hear that would be more easier to gain great information in native language. So all right, I can shift to Urdu. So if that's what the majority is preferring. So ये जो बिहेवियर है खामोश रहने का, उससे जो पर्सनल a mix of English and Urdu please. So it is going to affect उनकी जो इंटरपर्सनल रिलेशनशिप्स हैं आपस में, घर वालों के साथ, दोस्तों के साथ, बीवी के साथ, बच्चों के साथ, उन सब के अंदर आपको बिहेवियरल प्रॉब्लम्स नजर आना शुरू हो जाते हैं. नींद खराब हो जाती है, गुस्सा जरूरत से ज्यादा आ रहा है, चिड़चिड़ापन बहुत ज्यादा आ रहा है, रिस्क टेकिंग बिहेवियर, जैसे कि मैंने पहले भी मेंशन किया है, अल्कोहल का यूज है या कोई सब्सटेंस का कोपिंग स्ट्रैटेजी के तौर पे उनको यूज करना दोस्तों के साथ या अकेले. एंड जब वो क्राइसिस के लेवल के ऊपर जाता है तो और अनट्रीटेड डिप्रेशन चलता रहता है, तो क्राइसिस के लेवल पे सुसाइडल थॉट्स आती हैं. कंप्लीटेड सुसाइड, अगर हम स्टेटिस्टिक्स देखें तो जो कंप्लीटेड सुसाइड का रेट है वो बंदों में ज्यादा है. खवातीन अटेम्प्ट ज्यादा करती हैं, लेकिन कंप्लीटेड सुसाइड जो है वो बंदों में ज्यादा है, क्योंकि वो इतने ज्यादा आइसोलेशन के अंदर सफर करते रहती हैं कि इन द एंड उनको कोई रास्ता नहीं मिलता. एंड एक बहुत ही प्रिवेंटेबल चीज जो कि सुसाइड इज अ प्रिवेंटेबल थिंग, वो दैट इज द कॉन्सिक्वेंस जो आता है. अब यहाँ पे सवाल ये है कि मेन का अपना परसेप्शन इसके बारे में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो फ्रॉम एट अ प्रेस्टिजियस इंस्टीट्यूशन के सीनियर फैकल्टी की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, इंस्टीट्यूशन का नाम नहीं लूंगी, उनसे जब मेंटल हेल्थ के हवाले से एक दफा मैंने सवाल किया तो उसमें से एक का जवाब था कि they are boys as long as they can play on the cricket field and then they can burn out their steam on a football field, they are fine, their mental health is fine. And that was the approach to it कि बस अगर स्पोर्ट्स में अच्छे कर रहे हैं और खेल रहे हैं तो कोई मेंटल हेल्थ पे बात करने की जरूरत नहीं है. और दूसरी तरफ उसी इंस्टीट्यूशन के एक और सीनियर फैकल्टी हैं जिनका कहना ये था कि ये एक रियल कंसर्न है और बच्चों को, लड़कों को खास तौर पे हेल्प की जरूरत है और उनको हेल्प मिलनी चाहिए. और एक स्टूडेंट को मतलब ये एग्जाम्पल आपको इसलिए दे रही हूँ कि एक स्टूडेंट को द फैकल्टी मेंबर नोटिस्ड कि एक अच्छा वाला स्टूडेंट जो कि एक बहुत अच्छा एकेडमिकली परफॉर्म कर रहा था सडनली वेंट ऑन अ एकेडमिक प्रोबेशन. And so he called the student in and he asked him, what is going on? I mean, you were a good student. Why have your grades dropped? और आप इस तरह से क्यों हैं? And that child was going through a personal crisis in the form of injury to his father, who had to take care of the business, take care of his academic requirements. And just because that faculty member asked him and understood, he made provisions for that student in terms of कि उसका सबसे पहले तो उसकी एकेडमिक प्रोबेशन हटाई कि उसका एक क्राइसिस है और एक अच्छा परफॉर्मिंग स्टूडेंट है, गिव हिम मोर टाइम, give him extra classes, give him a little extension in his timeline to finish his assignment, and that student flourished. So that was the difference between someone just asking, understanding, and offering help. So it goes a long way ताकि crisis avoid किया जा सके इस तरह की situation के अंदर. सबसे पहले तो बात आएगी कि दोबारा मैं ये चीज reiterate करूंगी that men themselves they need to first break that internal stigma जो उनके अपने अंदर exist करता है. इस generation में थोड़ा सा ये जो अब वाली Gen Z और आगे वाली generation है इनमें थोड़ा कम है, mental health awareness ज़्यादा है, but still there is the stigma that is still prevailing. तो इसका थोड़ा सा कोशिश करनी चाहिए to change the narrative. Changing the narrative, like saying that seeking help, for example, is not a sign of failure. It is not surrender. It is actually maintenance. It is repair. It is prevention. जैसे हम कोई भी चीज prevent करने की कोशिश करते हैं. तो अगर एक किसी को कार्डियक पेन हो रही है और वो एक कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट के पास भाग के जाएगा ये प्रिवेंट करने के लिए कि कहीं मुझे हार्ट अटैक तो नहीं हो रहा, तो अगर उसको इमोशनल पेन हो रही है तो इट शुड बी ओके टू कम टू टॉक टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट और सीक हेल्प विद द साइकाइट्रिस्ट व्हाटएवर इज रिक्वायर्ड. तो अब अगर हम आ जाएं इस चीज के ऊपर कि क्या क्या किया जा सकता है, प्रैक्टिकल कोपिंग स्ट्रैटेजीज फॉर मेन क्या हो सकती, वो सारी वही हैं जो किसी इसके अंदर आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज एनी काइंड ऑफ men or female discrimination over here in this, because जो एक अच्छी mental health के लिए आपको चीजें करने की जरूरत है वही चीजें करने की जरूरत है. आपका पास एक सपोर्ट स्ट्रक्चर होना चाहिए, कोई एक बंदा होना चाहिए, आपका सपोर्ट नेटवर्क मेन का, एज फार एज I mean, I can speak of men who are around me in my family. They're usually hanging out over, जैसे मतलब हैंग आउट कर रहे हैं, गपशप लगा रहे हैं, लेकिन एक दूसरे से कोई अगर ब्रेक डाउन कर रहे हैं तो उनके लिए मुश्किल है ओपन अप करना और बात करना. अपने ही दोस्तों में दे फील दैट दे विल बी जज्ड. तो मे बी इफ नॉट टू मेनी, एटलीस्ट 1 or 2 people in your circle जिनके बारे में जिनके साथ आप फ्रीली बात कर सकते हैं ताकि you don't feel isolated. You have a support system or a support net around you, some kind of connection that you can establish, which is will protect you from deteriorating and it will help in emotional catharsis. जो कि emotionally कहा जाता है कि emotionally अपने आप को detach करते जाते हैं. Men का coping mechanism ये है कि वो अपने आप को इमोशनली सप्रेस करते रहें, डिटैच करते रहें उस लेवल तक के जहां से वो एक क्राइसिस के फॉर्म में बाहर निकले और उनसे हैंडल ही ना हो. सो अदर थिंग दैट कैन बी डन इज एक्सरसाइज, ऑफ कोर्स, रेगुलर स्लीप टाइमिंग, रिड्यूस निकोटीन, अल्कोहल, सब्सटेंसेस, सेडेटिव्स का यूज. फिर जो हम स्क्रीन टाइम की बात करते हैं, लेट नाइट कोई रूमिनेशंस हैं उनको प्रिवेंट करना, ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेज जो कि सिंपल टेक्निक्स हैं, जो कि अगर आपको कोई एंजाइटी हो रही है या कोई आपको पैनिक हो रहा है तो फिर उसके लिए सिंपल टेक्निक्स लर्न करना और उनको अपनी रूटीन के अंदर एस्टैब्लिश करना. You can say journaling also helps to tackle such situations. Yes, I totally agree with it. Journaling is one way. So everyone can find their own mechanism, whatever works for them. Maybe it is a run, maybe listening to music, anything you like to do. Or dusra ye ke if you are feeling a certain emotion, it is better ke you say what it is. I mean, if you're feeling anxious, just say you're anxious, or if you're depressed, you're depressed. Don't say I'm a failure, I am weak, why am I feeling this way. If it is anxiety, it is anxiety. Anxiety is treatable. If it's depression, then depression is something that is treatable. So say it the way it is. Don't try and attach labels like failure or weakness to this. So try and change the narrative. And do not wait I would encourage that do not wait till it becomes the last resort for you. In your community, in your family, there should be people जिनके पास आप जिनसे आप बात कर सकें, जो आपके गो टू पर्सन हो, जो कि आपके लिए एक सोल्यूशन निकाल सके. So usually the cultural pressure is that men are really not silenced because they do not feel. They're human beings, they do feel, but they're silent because they're never given permission to feel. मतलब एक उनकी emotional expression के ऊपर पाबंदी है. So try and change that narrative. And asking for help is not a loss of masculinity. It is an act of protection. जब आप अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो आप अपनी इर्द गिर्द के जो लोग हैं उनको प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, आप अपनी एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं. आप जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आप जहाज में बैठते हैं तो वो आपको कहते हैं ऑक्सीजन मास्क ऑक्सीजन की कमी की सूरत में सबसे पहले अपने मुंह पे लगाए. चाहे आपके साथ आपके वालिद बैठे हैं, आपका कोई बच्चा बैठा है, दे विल नॉट से कि किसी और के मुंह पे पहले लगाएं, बिकॉज यू नीड टू first be in a position where you can help others. So I think that would be my take on a take-home message for all of you, that seeking help is not a surrender. It is a sign of strength and the ability to recognize distress, the ability to speak about it, to seek support before suffering is turning into a crisis. It is a sign of real strength. So try and change this narrative. So it's open to all kind of questions and answers. Not that's my take on mental health. G.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khaula. We were initially going to do a Q&A session right after Dr. Ali, but he's a little late, so we're going to proceed with the Q&A session right now. In the meantime,
all right. Okay.
We circulated a pre-evaluation form before the webinar, and these were the most frequently asked questions in the webinar, so in the form. Okay, so someone asked, how can we as women support the men closest to us, like our brothers, in their emotional well-being?
Okay, so anyone else wants, or after hearing what I said, is there anyone else who would want to answer this other than me? Okay, answer it. How would you like to support the men around you?
I guess for me, as I'm like 18, right? So I
Okay.
have my brother and my father and many other like cousins that are little than me. So I
Okay.
always I take this before any session of it. Whenever they're feeling sad or whenever there's this depressive state, my brother usually cries more than me because we've
Okay.
given him that space, right? And
Okay.
there was also one thing I also spoke about that in college. That when I was in school, there used to be a classmate with us. He used to be too emotional. Like he didn't panic, or he used to be calm, and he used to be like he was very good at studying, right? But there was this one thing, and he panicked so much, and he started crying, and he was like, he only said two words. He was like, that why do we have this thing over men that they cannot cry? Like it is such a big, block that we cannot cry, and we're carrying so much inside of us. And it's just, and he couldn't even breathe at the time. He was so red. I couldn't even forget that. And now I tend to make a safe space around men, my cousins, my brother, everyone around me, and make sure that they could share their problems with me. And I guess this is something we need to aware ourselves in our professional as well as another thing. I think professional environments and universities need to have men helping support sort of things in the offices and in the culture, because as women share it with each other. We're so confident sharing our stuff with our friends, and men are not. So this is something, I guess, responsibility of every institute out there, to have such centers or a group that could actually reach out to every single person, men in that university. Because we've seen the
Okay.
university trauma dumping and things too, that
Okay.
goes another way around, right? So I guess that's something institute needs to handle too.
Okay, good. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. So exactly, the answer would be to create a safe space around the men in your life, to tell them that the norm that has been created by the society, that men do not cry, men are they need to handle things on their own, they need to be more resilient. So being more open about the fact, try and showing, rather than showing judgment, it can help if you can show curiosity, um, rather than saying that why are you angry. You can just say that what are you carrying, what is there something, is there any kind of help that you need. So that is how women can play a role in the men, in their lives, to have a safe space around them. I can see that Professor Ali Hashmi has joined us. Welcome, sir. So would you like to do the question and answer session after his talk? I think that would be best.
Yeah, I think we'll shift it to the end and move on with Dr. Ali's. Handing the mic over to Akif now.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful insights. Now we are moving towards the second session. So it's my absolute honor to introduce our respected speaker, Professor Dr. Ali Madeeh Hashmi, who is one of the Pakistan's leading psychiatrists and currently serves as the chairperson and head of Department of Psychiatry at King Edward Medical University, Lahore. His ability to combine scientific expertise with deep empathy has inspired countless students, healthcare professionals, and members of the public. Sir, it is truly an honor to have you with us today. And without any further delay, I invite Professor Dr. Ali Madeeh Hashmi to deliver this talk. Sir, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Akif. Am I audible? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you, Akif. I don't think anyone would mind if I do a talk in mixed English or Urdu, or does it have to be only in English? I think it's okay अगर हम उसको mix कर लें, कोई हर्ज नहीं है उसमें. I don't really have a prepared talk. I wasn't planning to do a prepared talk because as when I came online, I saw that Dr. Khaula was answering, and we, of course, many thanks to Dr. Khaula and of course to Akif and Minahil and everyone who organized the seminar. But I saw that there was a conversation going on and some discussion about about this topic, about men's mental health. So I felt, and I think Dr. Khaula felt and Akif felt, that we would like to keep it interactive rather than doing a presentation kind of thing. So I'll just talk for a few minutes, for maybe five minutes or so, and then we can continue with the question and answer sessions. I saw some comments in the chat when I came in, so we'll talk about that, and I think that might be more useful than for me to give a lecture. So I think we're all aware, June is Mental Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month. आज सुबह मेरी और डॉक्टर खौला की हमारे साइकेट्री ओपीडी में डिस्कशन हुई थी as to why there is a mental health month for men and there isn't a mental health month for women. So I don't know. I don't know why that is. I think it's important to remember that as we have worked at King Edward and in Pakistan to raise awareness about mental health in general, women's mental health naturally is more has been highlighted more and continues to be highlighted more, and that's a good thing by and large, because certain mental health conditions tend to happen a little bit more frequently in women, and the commonest mental health conditions related to depression or anxiety we tend to see them more in women because for a couple of reasons. There are some studies that say that the incidence of certain mental health conditions is higher in women and some higher in men. But more importantly, women tend to be more accepting of mental health distress and more willing to seek help for it before it becomes before the problem escalates, which is one of the reasons why we are all sitting on this seminar. So, a funny story about this today's activity that when Akif first proposed this, and we were having discussion about this in the Department of Psychiatry. Some of our women staff members, I won't name them who they are, were skeptical as to whether there needed to be an activity about men's mental health. And I had to work very hard to remind them that men are half of Pakistan's population. So we have a discussion about it all the time, that women should be provided support that they need for various things, including employment and so on and so forth, because they're half the population. But then the other half is men. And I think all the women in today's audience deal with men in one way or another. So you have men in your families, you have men in your classrooms. If any of you work, you have men in your workplaces. So I don't think it's a good idea to not talk about mental health because it's something that all women will encounter in one form or another at some point in their lives. So I'm so glad that Dr. Khaula decided she would join us. I hope Dr. Zainab Pervez is here. She said she'd be here. I'm not sure if she's here, our assistant professor. So we of course we talk about these issues all the time in our department. If you want to do it in a mathematical way, so if June is Men's Mental Health Month, why don't we designate the rest of the 11 months as Women Mental Health? But Dr. Khaula and I were talking this morning that uh, uh, trying to divide mental health into men's mental health and women's mental health is probably not the most productive way of thinking about it. Mental health is just mental health. And we should be focusing on everyone's mental health. Women have different mental health needs. Men have different mental health needs. Both women and men have some common mental health needs. And so I think it's a good idea that there is a specific mental health month for men designated, because in a culture like Pakistan, which is very traditional in some ways, patriarchal in other ways, because of the way our family systems are organized, men in our society, from the time that we are very young, are not at all encouraged to think about emotions, to talk about emotions, to recognize emotion, to regulate emotions. And the problem with that is that emotional problems then often show up as very dangerous, damaging things, such as substance use, such as violence, such as relationship problems, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a wonderful thing that we are having this activity. We want to thank Akif and everyone in KemPsych who helped organize this activity. I think it's a great idea to talk about men's mental health. I think it's a great idea to talk about women's mental health. I think it's also a great idea to talk about the mental health of elderly people, mental health of children, mental health of ethnic minorities, all kinds. So we don't need to be slicing up mental health into different segments and saying we're going to talk about this and we're not going to talk about that. At the stage of development of Pakistani society, where we are finally beginning to have some deserved focus on mental health, we still don't have enough government focus to where we get enough funding for mental health, and that will be our next step to ask for a bigger share of the national health budget for mental health, and why that's important, why we need to pay attention to mental health on campuses, in workplaces, in homes, in society in general. So thank you, Akif, for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. But why don't we have some question answers and make it a little bit more interactive, and then we can, Dr. Khaula and I think Dr. Zainab is here also, so we can attempt to answer some actual questions that all of you had related to mental health or men's mental health, and I think that would be more productive for the rest of this session. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. Minahil Shiraz, the co-moderator for today's session, has gathered the questions from the forms which was shared with the audience before this webinar. So now I would request Minahil to ask questions from Dr. Ali and Dr. Khaula and Dr. Zainab.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. These are some of the frequently asked questions in the pre-evaluation form. Somebody asked, how do we talk to the next generation of boys so they grow up comfortable expressing their own emotions?
Why don't we let Dr. Khaula take this? Because I also have two grown boys and she has two grown boys, but then she's a mother and her perspective might be unique. So let's have her take this first and then I can talk as a father.
Like I said during my talk, that what is important right now is for us to try and change the narrative. We have to try and change this narrative where silence is associated with strength and talking about emotional strength or emotional weakness is a sign of weakness. So if we are talking about it, we are allowing them to express their emotional distress in a safe space, are telling them that it is okay to talk about it. It goes a long way. So my eldest is 23 and my younger one is 18. And I have always found it very helpful to just throughout in their upbringing to talk to them. Effective communication, I would say, to talking about their stressors, talking about their everyday activities, talking about what is bothering them. I mean, we do that a lot with girls. With boys, somehow we are not very vocal about it. So I feel if we are including them in the discussion, if we're talking about it, where we're telling them it is okay to discuss, that is going to go a long way. They would be able to express their emotions. They will think that it is okay to express, it is normal to express. So that would change the narrative, hence the expression of their emotion, and hence seeking help when required.
So Minahil, I'll just take that forward from the same thing that Dr. Khaula said, and I will pinpoint something very interesting that she said, which is that so I have two boys. My oldest is 25, and then I have a 22-year-old son, and then I have a daughter who's 20. So I actually have a sort of a mixed laboratory at home. It's so interesting when Dr. Khaula said that we encourage girls, female children, to talk about emotions. We pay attention to their emotions. We help them take care of their emotions starting from a very young age, and yet we don't do that with boys. So, what message does that send, do you think? I don't think we need to ask whether boys have emotions. I know I do. I used to be a boy. I'm not a boy anymore. But so I don't think anybody can claim that men don't have emotions or men don't have feelings. But in our culture specifically, and in all cultures in general, but more so in a culture like ours, boys are trained, socially accustomed to ignore emotions, to not talk about it. This is something that is part of the upbringing of every male child, who then, boy and then a man, because from a very young age, we are given the message that मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता, sort of analyze, is it the whole macho kind of thing? And so, is it any wonder that men learn to hide their emotions, that men have difficulty connecting with their emotions, that men have a problem discussing emotions, and also that men then find it very easy to dismiss the emotions of women, right? This is why we have, so when we in our practice, when we have a couple come to see us. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I would say, uh, 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 more than half the time it's the woman who comes in for help, and the men will either, and the male partner will either be very reluctant or will refuse to come for help altogether. I think it feels like, I don't have the data, but it feels like in the current generation of Pakistani men, the one many of whom are on the call today, the students who are students today, I think is beginning to change. This is my feeling. I don't know what the data says, that compared to my generation of men and maybe my father's generation of men, the young men who are studying and working and living in Pakistan, growing up in Pakistan today, I think they are becoming a little bit more attuned. But that is because of activities like this. That is because it is being talked about, it is being written about in newspapers, in TV dramas, in magazines. Research is being done, so on and so forth. So So I think it's important that we recognize that we actually train our young men to ignore emotions and to not be in touch with their emotions from a very young age. And once you do that from a very young age, then it's much harder to learn as an adult. When the older you are, the harder it is to learn. Because you become conditioned to that kind of upbringing. And of course, there are biological differences. Dr. Holla and I were talking about this morning also. Men are biologically different, women are biologically different, made a different way. But I mean, the basic neurological wiring is not different. I mean, we all have, brains which are constructed in a specific way, and we all feel emotions. Every human being feels emotions. It's just a matter of how we understand them, how we respond to them, how we react to them, and it's very very important, especially for I assume a lot of you on this call are not parents yet, but you will be in the years to come. It's very important to understand this. It's very important to know this. It's important if you want to change things 5 or 10 years down the road, then we need to start today. We need to talk about it, which we are. We need to pay attention to it. And it's not just important for the next generation of males. Half the population of Pakistan is men now. And so it's not like males in Pakistan, young men, middle-aged men like myself, older men, are not having mental health issues today. So we also see patients all the time, male patients who have all kinds of mental health conditions, and oftentimes they're made worse because they've been ignored, because they've not been paid attention to. So I think it's important that we keep talking about it, that we raise awareness about it. We, Dr. Khaula and myself and Dr. Zainab, we are mental health professionals. We do this for a living. We do it all day, every day. But I'm sure everyone on this call is not that way, but at least you can have some understanding of what's going on, and some awareness of it, so that you can then educate other people. Because I'm assuming most people here are medical students or doctors. So everybody here is a health educator. When someone needs some information about some condition related to health, including mental health, you are the people that they will come to first, because you are inside the health profession. They're not going to ask a lawyer or an architect or a shopkeeper. They're going to ask a doctor or a medical student, or how should we. So it is incumbent upon you, it is your responsibility, it is essential that you educate yourself about these conditions and about this particular area of mental health, which is men's mental health, if you are going to answer their questions in a informed manner. So I'll stop here and see if there's any follow-up question. Thank you, Vinay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. You're so right. Emotional vulnerability starts at your own home and in your own social circles. And on that note, someone asked how to deal with the aggressive behavior men display as a defense mechanism to their emotional vulnerability, and how to help them without hurting their self-proclaimed strength and masculinity.
That's a difficult one. I'll try that one, Paula. So I think when I well I, you know let me try and answer, and then we'll come back to Dr. Holla, because she's been handling my mental health for about 16 years now. Uh, I think it's very true, Manahil, that men. So because we are conditioned to not recognize emotions and not respond to emotions for a number of reasons, including some we talked about, we are not comfortable when we are asked to reflect on emotions, particularly in a situation which is emotionally charged. So it probably won't help me. It probably won't, for my wife to say to me, you are handling your emotions incorrectly when I'm upset. It probably won't help, because I probably don't have the right tools, and especially not at that time for it to do. So she's come up, we've been married for 28 years, so she's come up with various kinds of ways to work around my emotional distress, and then bring it up at some point where I'm not emotionally distressed, and then I'm in a better frame of mind to listen to it. So I think that's one way to do it. And I think there's a fundamental difference here in terms of men and women, to where so I won't of course I won't speak for all men, but when I'm upset, when I'm angry, when I'm upset, when I'm sad, whatever, I actually find it more helpful to be left alone. That's just me. So I would like to be left alone so I can decompress, I'm sitting in my home study. I call this my cave. ये मेरा घर है. So I'll come and sit here and whatever. I'll read, write, watch YouTube, whatever. उस वक्त it won't help to have my wife keep poking at me and saying talk about this, talk about this, talk about it. In fact, it's going to make me more upset. And now perhaps this might be a fundamental difference to where, and I'll let Khaula talk about this. Perhaps, as a woman, you might find it more helpful to talk about it, and so would I, but not right now. And I guess this might be a stereotype, and we'll let Khaula talk about this. मेरा ये है कि यार, I mean, अभी इस वक्त मेरे से बात ना करो, and so when a few hours later or the next day, whatever, when I've slept and I'm rested, उस वक्त बात कर लेंगे. That would work better for me. I'm not saying that works better for all men. But और फिर वो जाहिर है कि if you're in an emotionally charged situation, loud voices, strong emotions, it probably doesn't work to try and talk it out. It might not, I don't know. It might help to just disengage for a while, for 1 or 2 hours or a day, and then come back and talk about it at a later point. I don't know, but I'll stop here and see what Dr. Khaula thinks.
Okay, so I agree with what you're saying. I'm a hot-headed woman, let me put it that way. So strong emotions. At times I can get fiery, angry. And so I think that in a situation where there is anger or aggression, in any kind of situation, what helps the most is, I believe, try and avoid a confrontational approach. Whenever there is a confrontational approach, it gets into rhetorical debate on who is right, who is wrong at that moment. And perhaps that is, at that point in time, it's not the right time to discuss all that. You just need to disengage, maybe reconnect. Maybe you can just say that, okay, the other person, your spouse or your sibling, whosoever the person is in the picture at that particular time, that you don't seem to be in a state where I can reach to you, or I don't seem to be in a state. You can put it on yourself, vice versa. And let's just talk about it tomorrow after a cup of tea, maybe later in the day, so that you're not just pushing it away, you're addressing the problem, but you're just not doing it at a time where you're not in the right mental health state. So I think that's the best way to approach it. My take on it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Our next question is, what should someone do if their family is actively against the concept of therapy and everyone around them is against therapy?
It's a question about if a person is having some mental health distress and does not have family support for getting help. I think is that what you asked, Panal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm never in favor of doing things in hiding or doing things with which might have negative sort of consequences for important relationships. Let's just put it that way. So I think the first step would be to work on family members and try and help them understand why it's important to get help. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I think probably in our bigger cities, for various reasons, there's more acceptance about mental health issues, and perhaps in smaller towns and in rural areas, not as much, perhaps. And so, if it also depends on the family's sort of social, cultural background, also depends on their educational background. I would say that if there's a mental health crisis, or if a person is suffering from a mental health difficulty, which is escalating, which is becoming worse, then I would be okay for that person to seek out help with or without family support. So I don't think we should not provide mental health help to someone who does not have strong family support or whose family actively opposes it. Now, this is a difficult situation because you don't really want to have to get in the middle of family members and a person who needs help, and then because that's going to probably cause some negative feelings between them and their family members whenever that comes out. But it's a difficult situation. But if I felt that that person needed help and they were having problems because the family is opposing it, then I would make every effort to help them anyway, with or without the family. I would continue trying to work to bring family members on board with what we are trying to do. Sometimes it's just a question of family members not really understanding what we're offering or what the problem is, or maybe it's part of the general stigma that surrounds mental health in general, which is a common still a misconception that it's nothing, that it's just a made up stuff. Maybe that's what it is, and maybe we can help them understand that, then it might make it easier. That then brings us into the domain of education about mental health and what it is and how important it is and all of those kinds of things. So the short answer to your question is, if somebody truly needs help, they should get it, uh, hopefully with family support. But if family is unsupported, then they should get help anyway. So.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll move on to our last question. It's a little less specific and something we've discussed before as well, but I'll say it nonetheless. What practical steps can we take to reduce the stigma and encourage men to seek help without fear and fear of mockery specifically?
Well, I think we'll let you take this one. So go ahead, please. Thank you.
Ma'am, your mic is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I think I discussed a lot of practical coping strategies for men, starting off with what I believe is the most important thing is the internal stigma that men have. They themselves uh, look at mental health, need to seek help for any reason as a sign of failure, as a sign of weakness, and there is a fear of judgment, there is a fear of shame, and there's a lot of emotional vulnerability that they feel. So the coping practical steps would be, first, to be honest about how they're feeling, and saying, like I said earlier, if they're feeling anxious, they need to say they're feeling anxious. It's not a sign of failure, it is not a sign of weakness, it's just anxiety. It is treatable. So goes for depression or any other emotional state that they are feeling. They need to build support systems around them, like any one or two particular people that they can reach out to, because they need to have people they can emotionally ventilate with. Women do it a lot. It helps them. And perhaps if they are talking about their emotional state, it would not, be aggravated and go towards a crisis, because isolation and suppression of emotional state is something that is going to add on to the mental distress. Other than that, the regular coping strategies like exercising, like the daily walks, meditation, breathing, reduced screen time, less negative coping mechanisms like use of alcohol or substances. So all these strategies can help their mental health. It would help the mental health of any individual, let it be a man or a woman. And again, ending on this note, that seeking help is not surrender. It is maintenance, it is repair, it is prevention. So maybe that could be a motto, or that could be the narrative that can be taken forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali and Dr. Kola as well, for being a part of this webinar. It's always a mentally transcendental experience to hear your take on things. I would like to conclude by saying that why we felt it was necessary to focus on this specific topic, because mental health itself is a very vital umbrella term, right? But being an umbrella term, it means that it encompasses a lot of different specific issues, right? That can get lost until that big picture of mental health. And for men specifically, the issue isn't just, okay, there's a lack of awareness, but it's our traditions and cultures that have conditioned us to believe that taking care of your own well-being isn't compatible with being a man, with being masculine. And even now, being vulnerable is seen as a feminine attribute, right? And we're here not because we want to end the stigma all of a sudden. That's not possible. It's not possible to end something with a single webinar, but we're here to provide a collective experience for men to change their internal narrative and to change their social conditioning that they've been brought up to their entire lives. Once again, I would like to thank all of our speakers for being a part of this conversation, and thank you so much for everyone who joined. And on behalf of the organizing team, KemPsych and IFMSA, we all thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again at our future webinars, and we will be continuing to do this in the future, inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kola. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Khadafis.
Lafis.